Hello everyone, and thank you for joining me today on Saint Luminus. Today I want to talk to you about 4 reasons why metronomes really suck. Yeah, I know, for some people, especially guitar teachers, this is going to be controversial because metronomes are everything for some people. Please subscribe to this channel if you haven't already so we can discuss this some more, and hit that notification bell if you haven't already so you can be notified the next time I put out a video. All right, the dreaded metronome, the thing that beginning guitar players and musicians in general hate. Everyone hates metronomes when they start, and for good reason. There's reasons why metronomes can really suck. And today I'm going to go over those. I'm going to go over 4. All I could think about was 4 because these 4 can expand us into so many different areas. But let's talk about the first one. The first reason why metronomes suck is because they're just simply no fun. It's just this thing that goes click, 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 over and over and over. And sometimes it's a very sterile, boring, clicky sound. Now, of course, there are metronome programs and apps out there where you can change the sound, make it a cowbell or make it like a snare drum or something other than just a digital clicking sound. And there's also other ways that I've seen some very fancy metronome apps that try to make it more interesting for you. But I'm just talking about a straight, general, regular old-fashioned metronome. Get rid of all the clutter, just a simple old metronome. It's just no fun. It's quite boring. Number 2, the second reason why metronomes suck is because they're perfect. They're absolutely perfect. Their timing is absolutely impeccable to the point that it really isn't human. However, you are a human with your feelings of grooves. I don't care how good they are, no one has perfect time like a metronome. There are musicians, of course, who have really good time. I mean, we would say they're rock solid. They have rock solid timing, but no one is perfect on and on and on and on like a metronome. So that's one thing. It's metronomes don't really necessarily represent the real world out there, what we do as human beings. All right, now you can let me know in the comments because there are probably metronomes that do go ahead and give changes, some timing changes, meaning they're a little imperfect. I don't know, I've never used that. You can let me know in the comments if there are metronome or metronome apps that are a little imperfect. But this leads to number 3, because I'm talking about just a regular good old-fashioned metronome, nothing super fancy. That this has a tendency to make us perfect. And I'll tell you what I mean by that, is that a lot of times we're taught to match the metronome, to divide everything evenly so that you play, if you're going to play 8th notes with the metronome, you're playing da 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 da. So you're training yourself to be very mechanical. And yes, I do understand that there is a positive to this, but and there's a reason why you'd want to do that, but that's not what this video is about. That's a different video, because I am going to do a video about the positives of metronomes. But this is why they suck. They suck because it starts making us and our phrases a little robotic. And that's where it really sucks. So it's turning you into a perfect player that when you are playing 16th notes, that your 16th notes are they're training you to be more and more perfectly divided to the beat. So you have the 1E and a 2E and a 3E and that is not an example of interesting playing. After a while, it's kind of boring, and I know this is part of exercises for beginning guitar players, learning how to divide up the beat. And so, yes, we can have this discussion all day long, but I think what's happening is that metronomes at a certain point with without someone who really knows how to, without being taught, how's that? Without being taught how to effectively use a metronome, that it's turning us into perfect players because we're playing along to something that is clicking away with perfect timing. And that kind of perfect timing doesn't exist in the real world. Let me tell you about one of the greatest guitar players ever, of course, is Eddie Van Halen. And Eddie Van Halen, I mean, obviously, if you analyze it, and not just him, but a lot of other great players like David Gilmour, Marty Friedman, and many others, you notice that when they're playing along to the beats of their music, well, first of all, the timing of the band usually isn't that perfect. There are some exceptions. Countdown to Extinction from Megadeth. Yeah, a little too perfect. That what they do is they go ahead and they start kind of floating over this rhythm. So they don't play perfect 16th notes or perfect triplets or perfect eighth notes. They kind of just float something around, over it. From what I understand, Eddie Van Halen referred to this as falling down a flight of stairs, yet landing on your feet. That they don't subdivide this perfect digital timing. That they just kind of play a phrase that it's just a lot of whatever, but they always know where they're at and they go boom and just nail it. At just the right moment to end a phrase. So yeah, I think perfect metronomes are kind of driving us to be a little too perfect. Fourth reason why metronomes suck. The metronome doesn't teach you how to groove with others. So if you're a guitar player, the metronome doesn't really teach you how to groove with a drummer and a bass player. For you guys to groove and jam on something or to play a song together. And this is because, like I said earlier, that drummers, even rock solid drummers, don't have absolutely perfect timing like a metronome. Neither does a bass player. If you're experienced, you will find out that drummers and bass players have this little synergy going on. And as they play, there's a groove that kind of just ebbs and flows and, like we say, breathes. And you have to be able to listen to that and play along with it. And a lot of times, and I've experienced this way too much, is players who rely way too heavily on metronomes and hardly ever get out and play with other people have this problem that they're just doing everything so perfectly and they get upset with drummers and bass players that kind of breathe and just get a good groove going on because they can't match it because they're so used to playing perfectly with a metronome, and then their playing sounds a little too perfect and it doesn't sound like it's matching this groove, this little synergy that's going on with the band. Now there, of course, is more and more that I can add on to this of why metronomes suck. And I think it boils down to those four. If there's more, that's fine, but it's probably something related to those four reasons I gave to you. Now, does this mean metronomes are worthless? You should never, ever use a metronome. No. But what I think is lacking is a good teacher to teach you how to use the metronome properly and to get you as the player aware of what's going on when you're playing to a metronome, that to have this in your head like, hey, there's a little bit too much perfection here, and although I'm using it to solve certain issues, of course you gotta have a good teacher showing you how to do this, ultimately I want to jam with other people, I want to do other things with other people, and of course a metronome isn't helping me. In fact, it's one thing it is doing is making me a little too perfect, a little too rigid, a little too many straight 16ths for long periods of time, too many half notes for a long period of time without any changes, and that's not very exciting, nor is it something we consider very musical. So like I said, I know this can sometimes be a little controversial because I'm saying things that suck about a metronome, and there's going to be teachers say, no, I swear by these damn metronomes, and okay, fair enough. Here's a question. Do I use a metronome? And I'm going to say yes, I do. In fact, probably daily I'm using a metronome. But I'm going to tell you in a different video what I do with the metronome. It's not what you think, probably. Regardless, I notice the problem with the metronomes, especially when I go to learn solos from other players I like David Gilmour and Marty Friedman and many others. I notice how they play with the rhythm and they're not so rigid when they play to their solos and their rhythms in their bands. It's like you just feel that groove and that fun that they're having that metronomes don't really bring out of you. It's playing with other people that brings out that kind of joy and that synergy and that groove. That's what does it, and metronomes just can't do it. Yes, I know! There are all these metronome apps that are fancy. Yes, I do know you can get a drum machine that will give you some sort of groove, but even still, drum machines are, and it's better, a drum machine is better, but it's still perfect. And again, that kind of perfection isn't interesting for most people to listen to. Now, if you're the type of player that stays at home, I don't play any bands. I'm just playing at home, man. I'm just recording my own songs, blah, blah, blah. All right, so be it. So you put on a little drum groove on your DAW, or you have a little drum machine, and you just play along with that, and that's good enough, man. What if I just want to play at the drum machine? Cool. Go do it. Do what you find joyful, of course. But what I'm really getting to is if you ever get to that point you're frustrated, you say, well, I just enjoy sitting at home just playing to this drum machine or this click track or whatever. And you're ever wondering like, hey, you know, no matter what I do, why is it not sounding like that person I really look up to, that player? Why is it not still just not quite there? Probably it's because you're not with other people. Sometimes you just need to ditch that metronome. Maybe the microphone, too. Go ahead and let me know your thoughts. If you want to go off and spout off how I'm wrong on the whole thing, hey, go for it. Just don't be a dick about it, all right? Next video, it's going to be about the reasons why a metronome is good and why you probably do need a metronome. Thank you so much for joining me today, you guys. I really do appreciate it. Please subscribe to this channel, hit that notification bell, and yeah, I look forward to hearing from you. See you soon.